that didn't always want to be an astronaut. But no, I was actually looking for one of the SpaceX suits and I couldn't find it. But the first thing Shane says when I got on, he's like, "Damn, you really are ready to go to the moon." I was like, "Yep, I am ready to go to the moon."
Oh, let's go live. What are we talking about today?
I
We
am
are
live. I'm live. We're just live. Yeah, hit the like button. Hi, everybody.
We are live. Okay, awesome.
All systems are go.
Let me lower the volume. I got one of these that's playing audio somewhere. There we go. Which one is it? All right.
In the meantime, Tesla was up 20%.
Bro. How was that for you that morning when you woke up with that portfolio?
And to be honest, I didn't even look at my portfolio until 2-3 hours after the market opened because I was just too busy. And then I'm like looking at it and I'm like 20% on the day. Like what?
I woke up that morning. I have it spread across a couple of accounts, and in most of the accounts, dude, the amount of money that it went up was like what I made in a year. And like when I was first starting out, and if you combine them all, it was like well over a year's salary. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I've had gains like that, say in crypto, or if I look at like my overall gains, but to see that from Tesla stock, especially after just like one thing of earnings, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being up so much, I was just like, damn, like that was giving me old 2020 vibes when it popped, from that short squeeze that January 2020.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
And what was particularly surprising to me was like, this is after Elon has been more political than ever. And we've been hearing forever that like his expressing his political opinions is a real damage to the stock. And then here we are with like a 21% gain when he is like absolutely being political right now and super partisan. I think that narrative just has to go away. Like the people that are pretending like Elon's political views are hurting the stock, or just kind of have to be quiet about that now, because it's clearly not the case.
We saw what happened right after, right? The Elon is friends with Vladimir Putin hit piece.
Yeah.
That came out.
Saw that. And then the reports of the earnings were that Tesla had a great quarter on the backs of regulatory credits. And then they came out and said that he was actually working in the country illegally when he came in as a citizen. He was coming in on a visa, a student. It's insane. It's so insane to see like clockwork. And it's funny how that hatred of Elon and all things Tesla just reveals a lot of the biases that were at least somewhat covert before. Now it's just overt with so few days left in the race. It's crazy to see that coming out. Hey, what is up? Yes, the moon. I can't take credit for that. Shane called me out when I first got on the stream. He thought I was putting this on as a symbolic way of saying we're ready to go to the moon. But yeah, I am ready to go to the moon. Not selling any shares right now. Not selling any shares. Hey, what's up, Suapashihi? I only have 30 shares of Tesla. You still got time, buddy. You still got time. I think we're looking at probably one of the most, if not the most valuable stock in the next 5 years. Would you guys disagree? That in the next 5 years, I think what other company? I was thinking the other day, like what other company has the trajectory that this company has over the next 5 years to be the world's most valuable company? They are firing on every cylinder, no pun intended. But what other company has the trajectory of this company? I mean, I still believe we are still early. No.
Yeah, it's definitely on an exponential growth curve. Like I could see it being top 5 by market cap, no problem. Like sustained for in the next 5 years. The thing is, like, who's to say how long this AI race is going to go for? So whether Apple or Nvidia are going to lead that charge, or even Microsoft is going to capitalize on that. But I could see Tesla top 5.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into Apple. Apple has been one of just like the most disappointing companies, I would say, the last few years, but we'll keep it positive on Tesla. What was that, Neil?
I think if everything works out, then for sure they can be one of the top companies. Nvidia, Amazon, especially. I think those could be top 3 the next couple of years. I mean, NVIDIA is already top 1. So
do you think NVIDIA can sustain that title at once all of the AI build out is there, or will they go more the way of Cisco in the 90s, where they were part of the initial infrastructure and then they go away?
No, because they have the hardware, they have the software. They're like building their ecosystem where I don't really see why you would go out of it or how you could go out of it without losing, unless, of course, AMD and Intel suddenly reach the highs of NVIDIA in terms of software and hardware, then maybe, or the mega cap have their own thing that work out. But no, I think it's going to be a long, long time until NVIDIA feels the pressure or falls.
What do you think, TJ?
I think Tesla is primed to double in the next 3 to 5 years from where it is now, market cap and everything. So it qualifies to be in my portfolio. I was actually just reading the comments. I was a little bit distracted. So I want to read this to you guys. So this is when I think you know that a company is about to do some really cool stuff. It says
with Tesla particularly,
specifically Tesla. It says, isn't that just because you hold a lot of Tesla and they happen to make their biggest one-day moving years, which had nothing to do with how good you are as a wheeler?
Wait. It has nothing to do with how good what?
How good I am as a wheeler, like so. Because I put a screenshot that said, next time you hear somebody talking about they're the best wheeler on YouTube, show them the screenshot and say that I disagree or something like that. Just to be a dick, because Investment Henry's always saying that he's the best on YouTube, and I'm like, fucker, if you ever want to do a challenge, I'll take your fucking money. But
yeah, your portfolio gains sick. I mean, didn't you started the year somewhere around 5 million?
3.8, but there was capital injections as well. But it's not even that.
Still, I saw one of your screenshots the other day. You're over 8 million.
Yeah, but it's just all dude.
That's not normal, man.
No,
and I understand a lot of it is
I think Henry's are really good at selling options. I just think I'm better. Just to call a spade a spade, and to have like a little banter going on, not with Henry, with people
friendly,
that are
a
bad boys.
little friendly wager, but still,
he's I've learned a lot from his channel, dude. He's really good, and he's definitely a lot better at making money on YouTube than I am. So there's that, but I'm talking about actually.
You can't win everything, bro.
Yeah, it's all good, dude. Tesla is going to run, bro. I think I have Tesla being about a $3 trillion market cap by like 2031, 2032. So
it seems like 3 trillion is the new 1 trillion.
Yeah, but where does that put it? Because it's about what 850 billion right now.
Not even. I mean, can we get a poll actually, Shane? What's Tesla's market cap by 2030? Let's get a poll. Let's see what actually. Let's say hello. How many people here? We got 60 people. I this is my fault. The fact that we've only got 60 people because I keep switching up the times. It's actually really hard to get all of this together recently for me. I don't know how it's been for you guys. But still, I appreciate the people that are here watching and people that'll catch up afterwards. They won't get the benefit of doing the polls, but so you're thinking 3 trillion by 2020. So that's almost
2030.
So that's like 4 or 5x from here.
Yeah, 3.
So we'd be at like 1,200
a share. I'll think if there's no split.
More. 1,200, yeah, 1,200 or more. $1,000 if there's no split. I actually think that would happen faster because if we're okay, I think part of the reason why it jumped so much is because the markets felt like the weight has been lifted off the stock now that we're say gross margin profitable again. Like basically everything's trending in the right direction, and their spend. Look, they have like record cash on hand, even though they're still spending like crazy on the AI side. It just seems like a lot of the things that they've been talking about for years, these multi-year goals, are finally starting to come to fruition, or we're actually seeing. What we're seeing the progress trending in the right direction, and we're able to measure the rate of progress to the point where you can actually extrapolate when these things are going to happen. Now that we've actually seen the Cybercab, we know what the plans are with that. Cybertruck is profitable. I mean, that was a big surprise to me on the call that I don't think people are talking about enough, that the car is actually profitable at this point. That means they are really ramping these things up. And also, the Model 3, the refreshed Model 3, the improvements to COGS was actually able to get them profitable or get the margins in a good place. And I don't know about you guys, but it seems like Tesla is doing all of the same things with the Model Y that we saw with the Model 3 before the refresh, the 0%, extending the 0%, basically trying to flush out the inventory. I really feel like we are going to see this refreshed Model Y like right at the beginning of the year. Seems like they're trying to get rid of that inventory, giving all the incentives possible. And if that's the case, and they can have the same gains in cost and input costs on the Y that they have the 3, I mean, we're really, this is where it really starts to take off, and Tesla actually just runs away with it. I mean, there's no other company that's making money on EVs right now.
Yeah, I think the one thing that was really surprising to me in a very positive way was how fast it took them to introduce a brand new SKU, which was the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And take it to the point to where it's not a liability on the balance sheet, but it's now an asset, right? It's a money producer, it's a money maker, not a money taker.
Yeah.
So the fact that they could do that with something that they are now building, they're built from scratch, but now they're building at scale. So if they do something like the Cyber Cab, they're going to be able to take a lot of the stuff from their current SKUs to be able to just like hit the ground running, because I think that their biggest mode is manufacturing. Like Tesla just knows how to build shit at scale very, very efficiently. And they can take something, especially if they're able to borrow infrastructure from like the Model 3 or the Model Y for the Cyber Cap, that they weren't able to borrow anything. Like the Cybertruck was a brand new project, right? And they're able to scale that at these levels profitably.
Less than a year from the first production, bro. And here's the thing, that's not a normal vehicle to build. It's a really difficult vehicle with a lot of new technologies, things like steer-by-wire, the 48-volt technology. Like there was a lot in that building that vehicle that had people believing that it would never even come to production. Yet here we are, it's in production. It has taken off and become as popular as people thought. And in addition to that, it's actually now contributing significantly, well, not significantly, but contributing in a positive way to the bottom line. Listen to this one. Dominic thinks we're going to
Did they say anything? Did they say anything about a new gigafactory? Like what happened to gigafactory in Mexico? Is that a thing or not a thing?
The last news I heard, and if anyone's got anyone who's in the chat, is that they have stopped production. They've stopped.
It doesn't make sense for them right now.
Right.
So is there another gigafactory on the horizon right now? Like is India a thing? Like where is the next rung up the ladder going to come from? Because at some point their current gigafactories are only going to produce so many vehicles per year, right? Like where is the next level of expansion coming from? Because
we're far from that. Like
we're
next
far
year
from capacity, right?
Yeah, like capacity is 3 million or something, and we're really far from that. Plus, they are building the Tesla Semi factory, so that's an extra. I think the Tesla Semi will be a monster product for them. I mean, this thing.
It's a sleeper, yeah. It's a sleeper.
This thing is going to be huge, because why wouldn't companies buy it if it will eventually cost them less to operate their fleet? Plus, it makes the driver more comfortable as well.
So who's using that right now? Isn't it a beer company or Pepsi? Who's using
Frito-Lay's, Pepsi?
Yeah,
those
PepsiCo,
are the two big ones that I know of.
How many of those are on the road right now? Like I'm just not, because I've been hearing about
80, am I wrong? Like between 50 and 80 of these are on the road right now.
I think maybe even more. Maybe more. I think more, because I've seen pictures and videos.
Or also known as Shane.
I think they already produced more, but for pilot stuff.
This would be sick. Elon talked about a Pennsylvania mega factory yesterday at a town hall. Those town halls are actually pretty cool because they do give you it's kind of like an earnings call every day. And they are slipping in some of these Tesla questions in there. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about any new factories. The gigantic gigafactory wouldn't fly with Trump. Exactly. Yeah, they would be subject to a lot of the tariffs that he is proposing. So it would make sense. And I mean, why not? Why not move it into an area like Pennsylvania or even Michigan? These places that have been decimated with jobs that are old school United States manufacturing, and bring them in.
Doesn't it boil down to labor costs?
I mean, it could, but I mean, Tesla offsets a lot of the labor costs with stock-based compensation, right? So, and also with the improvements that they've got, you can argue that they get more money, they get more output out of each employee because of the efficiencies of the factories themselves. You know, to TJ's point, the real moat that they have is manufacturing. It's their factories and how they're able to produce these vehicles and cut costs out of them. This is no small feat to be able to revamp the Model 3 and pull out so much cost from it that you are able to actually impact those margins in the way that they did. And now they're looking to spread that out across the other ones. And the unboxed technology that's going to allow them to build 2 million of these cybercabs in a year. I mean, the footprint needed to be able to create those vehicles and the simplicity of the design, they're just going to be able to crank these things out like the way that we expect of China, right? Like only China is able to produce these sorts of efficiencies in manufacturing and get costs down. And Tesla it'd be great if they could do that actually, you know, in the US, but they'll definitely be doing that and stuff in China.
Yeah.
What does it say, Jed? Tesla needs to continue vertically integrating to get higher margins, somewhat like BYD, bring down battery costs and 4680 expansion. Look, from what I understand, they're doing really well with the 4680 cells. They've been doing really well. And I saw something in a town hall the other day where he's like, look, battery game is really hard. A lot of people talk shit about increased battery density. There's a lot of talk about it, but if there's anyone that can beat us, please beat us, because that is the key. If you can make a solid 10-15% improvement in batteries, you are a multi-trillion-dollar company because of everything that is supportive of it. So I think that's a little harder than it may seem, Jed. But yeah, to TJ's point, that is a good
plus, but BYD, I don't think their margins on pure EVs are that good either, by the way.
They are making money, but I don't think so as much. Yeah.
Yeah, but with plug-in hybrids included. Because they make it all.
I think they're playing the angle of tapping into the infrastructure though. Like their cars talk to lights, which talk to cameras that are out in the field, which only exists in China. Tesla is essentially just all running off of vehicle inputs, but both from the drivers and from their camera inputs.
Yeah, and I don't see the United States implementing a system like that, at least as of yet. You might in any sort of new cities that are designed, but I think Tesla's point is that that's not necessary, right? You're saying where the vehicles actually communicate with the traffic systems themselves, and it's sort of the vehicles are part of an integrated traffic system.
I think, yeah, that's like a long-term goal for sure. But I mean, we're so far out of that in North America. Like Tesla,
why would you need it?
Have that option?
Yeah.
It's just an efficiency thing. From what I understand, like there's these tiny smart cities in China that, you know, they basically don't have lights at intersections because the cars all talk to each other. The lights will communicate. Like even pedestrians needing to cross are somehow able to notify the vehicles of that and sort of thing. So it's interesting, but I don't have a lot of information about that just because it is so foreign and I don't speak that language.
Like you mean Chinese?
Yeah, I don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese.
So did you guys see Amit test drove a Model Y this weekend? Yeah, I sent them my referral code. I'm like, dude, that smile was too big for him not to buy. I'm curious to see if he ended up buying one. How many of you guys have tried the new FSD?
Us?
I took an Uber in it.
The latest build? Have you tried?
I think it was 12.0.
Okay, because they extended the demos now. You know, I had it for a little while when I was doing some trips over the summer, and then I got rid of it. You know, paid the $99 subscription, and then recently I came in the car and it was like, hey, we have your trial, blah blah blah. So I've been using it, and then they had this last update, and I got an email saying that they've extended it again. And I got to say, like, now that I've seen a couple of versions, this last version is really smooth. It's doing these things. It's doing these things that like only human drivers do. So you know how like when you know how when you pull into an intersection and you're waiting to make a left-hand turn and there's a car say coming in their left lane coming towards you, you sort of cut the corner, you sort of start accelerating and start your turn so you can time it right when they pass you. You sort of cut that corner and go. The car never did that before. And now it's doing things like that where I can see it sort of anticipating that the other car will pass at a specific point and sort of timing itself to cut down on time in the intersection. I'm also seeing it responding to hand gestures. There's been a lot of construction in the area. A lot of times you need to drive over on the other side of the street. I've seen that. I've seen some areas. Do you guys have this in Belgium, Neil, where there's some lanes that are driving lanes, but then at certain points in the day you can actually park there? So say you have 3 lanes, and most of the time at night it's for free flow of traffic, or during rush hour you can't park there because it's to free flow traffic. But say between specific hours of the day you can actually park there, and it's not a viable lane.
No, we have no. We don't have that. Too complicated for us.
There's some areas like that around me, and I'm seeing the vehicle understanding. And I don't know if it's getting that data where it knows the exact time of day, but even just by monitoring the habits or seeing that car is parked, actually it's not just stopped in what is normally a driving lane. It's just doing some things that I have not expected.
Do you have bus only lanes?
Yeah, there's some of those, or like hot HOV lanes. There's some of those, but those are on the left
knows
side.
the difference.
On the right side. I'm saying specifically on the right side.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the dude deserves it.
No, but I think it's for his father. It's not for him.
Say again?
I think it's for his dad, not for him. The Model Y.
The dad wrecked the car, I think.
Oh, because he said he was test driving. I asked him if he had taken.
Yeah, he was test driving it, but I think it's for his dad, I believe.
If my mom is a bit averse to driving, but if she wasn't, I would definitely want to put her in a Tesla. Jed, Tesla has never really had inorganic growth. QuantumScape at market cap of $3 billion would be a good start. CPay premium, solid state batteries. Solid state batteries, I think, it's like a boogeyman. I don't know that we're ever going to see all that yielding for emergency vehicles. It wasn't emergency vehicles. It was construction, like just construction in the middle of the road that had cones that took you temporarily to the other side of the street. And there was the guy there holding up the stop signs that was manually waving traffic back and forth. And the car just did what I would have done. What's amazing about it is that, the amazing things that FSD does is not that it's doing anything particularly amazing. It's just responding in a way that is natural and seems accurate to what a human being would do in the same situation. And then you tell yourself, this is a freaking car that is figuring this thing out. And this is a car that, like, 2 or 3 years ago didn't have the ability to do that. So that was insane. I do think we need to take a second. You got anything to say on this? TJ, are you still holding ENPH?
Yeah. So I have 50 leaps at 100 for January of 2026.
When did you buy them?
I bought them.
Last time I saw was in the 70s right now.
No, it's like at 90.
It's 83 now.
83.
No, but it was like, dude, last week I saw $78.
Yeah, after the earnings, it did drop and touch that bottom at 76 or something.
Yeah, 76.80 on Wednesday. I picked up a little bit.
I have on 7/16, because this is whenever I sold all the shares at for a tax harvest. So before I did that, I bought 50 leaps. That way I would maintain my exposure on the 5,000 shares that I ultimately wanted anyway in the position.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid $44.20 a share. So a total of 221 grand on 50 contracts. And those contracts are currently worth 87,000. So I'm down 134,000 on those leaps, but I have sold about $80,000 worth of covered calls against those leaps. So it's really not as bad as it would seem, because I know how to run the poor man covered call strategy.
That's what I was going to say. That's what you're doing.
I did not think that earnings were that good. They didn't really give anything that was awe-inspiring. I think it's going to be another 3 to 6 months for them to try to right the ship, in my opinion. And I think that it's probably going to trade sideways until then, maybe a little downward pressure, in my opinion.
I don't particularly worry about ENPH. I mean, as long as it's within these ranges. This was a sort of long-term trend that was clearly broken here somewhere in 2023, and we've been in a steady decline, and it's basically been hanging on to life in this area. I mean, TJ, ENPH likes certain price points, 70 something. This seems to be the bottom, but it likes to live in this range, or at least it's been in this range for a long time. This like 100 to 140, 160. It sort of likes to live there. And then when it gets above there, you can feel like it's a bit overstretched and extended. So for me, unless I become bearish about solar in general, I'm not worried about the stock more so than I just think there's also a lot of other news, like and ENPH is not benefiting from the boom in AI in the way that seems to sort of be the buzzword. That seems to be where the market is placing its bets right now, or at least its multiples. And so solar has sort of fallen out of the national conversation, at least for now. And to be honest, someone like Trump being up ahead in the poly markets is not good for a company like ENPH. A lot of the EV mandates and stuff like that would be gotten rid of day one. So
yeah, but I think like rate cuts and all that, like I don't think ENPH would really see that for another 6 months to even a year.
Well, so they're trying to push the installers to get flushed through some of the inventory. But even the rate cuts, to your point, it takes a second. And I do think that some of it is people are going to wait until after the election, wherever you are in the world, to decide whether or not you're going to make a purchase like that, just for for incentives and overall world stability.
I mean, earnings weren't great, right? I think they missed. And guidance wasn't great either.
Yeah.
On the flip side, free cash flow positive still, so that's good. Plus, now we're entering a phase where the year-over-year comparisons become much easier for the company. So that should be a tailwind for them. But yeah, I mean, the Tesla Powerwall 3 could be a very, very difficult product to compete against.
I was looking at the Powerwalls and the ENPH solution because I have an ENPH thing, and I'm just saying to myself, why don't I just buy a Cybertruck and have a 100 kilowatt hour pack or 120 kilowatt hour pack? You look at a Powerwall, at least last I checked, at 13.8 kilowatt hours. So I'm going to pay whatever I'm paying, 10 grand or whatever, for a stationary battery, or I can fork up the money and look at some of the cost of the Cybertruck as me buying a backup battery system for my home.
Right.
I'm just not, it's sort of like our debate about if Tesla's selling 2 million Cybercabs, who's buying all the fucking Model 3s? Don't these two things cannibalize each other? So I'm saying to myself, okay, if I can buy a Cybertruck and drive the battery around, and I only need it, say at night, the truck's gonna be plugged in anyway. Wouldn't I just take 120?
It's funny you say that. So we looked at installing this Generac.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like, it was like $7 or $8 grand for the Generac and like another 7 to 10,000 to install it.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a joke saying, I think you can power the damn house with a Cybertruck, baby. I've seen it on the internet. I don't know exactly how it works. And I could actually drive that fucker around. Why would we ever want to install exactly as Generac?
But I just don't, like, why wouldn't you?
No, I'm saying there's a lot of people that believe that these companies like ENPH that are trying to pivot to like batteries and stuff, like, dude, how are you going to compete against one that's like having a home phone versus a cell phone, yo? Like, there's a lot of people that gave up on the home phone because you can, drive around with this bad boy everywhere.
Exactly.
So
I think also, if you're looking if you need any more reason to buy a Cybertruck, right? If you are a Tesla owner that has solar, and you say, well, all right, I don't know if I'm going to spend all the money on this Cybertruck, but you say, but, you're talking to your wife, you're like, but while it's plugged in, we get this box, we can also kind of power our house for a couple days.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what a Powerwall system would cost to get 120 kilowatt hours of backup storage, and the space that shit would take up.
Yeah. So this is my wife thing on ENPH, because she did the research with me with ENPH and Tesla, and her conclusion was real simple. We have Tesla, we don't need ENPH. But the premiums on manufacturer of the win. She goes, that's great, but at the end of the day, my conclusion, not to like boast or anything, but she is an economics major from Stanford, so she's a little smarter.
She's like, not to.
No, I'm saying like she knows how to look at different shit than I do on a balance sheet and financial statements. And she was like, I don't understand why anybody would want to own ENPH in conjunction with Tesla. If you could pick one that's doing a lot more, and this also, and has the name brand recognition, and it's like the Apple ecosystem where you're going to do everything from the laptop to the computer to your iPhone to all the bullshit, right? Everything. You're going to stick with Tesla because that's what people like to do from head to toe. They do it with, like, I'm Ralph Lauren mostly whenever I go out. that's just the way that I like to do it. And people do it with a bunch of other shit. She goes, I don't understand how ENPH is going to be able to compete with Tesla when Tesla gets serious about this industry. Because she doesn't even think that Tesla's that serious about it yet. It's almost like they're just farting around with it. And what happens when they like legit put resources into that? Because they got, a shitload of money to work with. She goes, I think that ENPH is, I mean, there's some people that'll do it. It's not to say she doesn't think ENPH will make money. She just doesn't think we need it in the portfolio because we have Tesla.
Okay, but if you just on a pure
That's
multiple,
my conclusion.
Why would you need to hold ENPH if you can just hold Tesla?
Yes, you have exposure to that space already and everything else. Like, why not put something else in the portfolio that doesn't have so much uncertainty attached to it, and also is contingent upon interest rate cuts and a Democrat in office and all this other shit. Whereas Tesla is, even though Elon Musk is very political, Tesla itself is kind of apolitical in that aspect. Because I don't think anybody's worried about Tesla fucking going under if Kamala wins. It's like, who gives a shit? Tesla's still going to do Tesla things.
Well, Elon might be in jail.
Yeah,
Elon will probably be in jail.
I remember Donald Trump saying Hillary was going to go to jail. He won, and he was there for 4 fucking years. She's still out of jail. So all that bullshit is just a bunch of political banter, in my opinion, dude.
All right. Well, there's two conversations there. There's like the political conversation, but also
but
there's like the ENPH.
I'm bullish still. I fought my wife on it. I'm manufacturing the win, not a big win. I do sleep a lot easier at night having an investment in Tesla, though, because there's just so many more levers that Tesla can pull versus ENPH, in my opinion.
But that's also the bear case, is to say that there's also, if you're investing in Tesla, say for the energy division, there are risks outside of just what the energy business is doing that you have to be worried about. Look, that's also represents the potential upside, but that's an argument to have a pure solar play. It's clear that all of the installers, the people that are making money off of solar at the end of the line, prefer this company's products over everybody else. The customers that own the products prefer their products over everybody else. And so if and when there's the environment's right, both with rates and customer sentiment and incentives at this market cap, the potential multiple as an investor is greater than that of a pure investment in Tesla, even though Tesla is like an ETF of all these things.
I agree, and that's why I bought leaps on ENPH instead of holding shares, so that I can still participate in the upside. The covered call premiums are the exact same whether you own leaps or shares, and I don't have to tie up all the capital, and then I'm able to put that capital in something that I feel like is a for sure thing, whereas there's still a little bit of uncertainty. I just think there's more uncertainty with ENPH than there is Tesla because of all this.
What was the stock price when you bought those leaps?
About 120.
So okay, so it was higher than it is now.
Yeah,
but I
bought 50, telling myself that I'm willing to buy an additional 50 once I collect over $100,000 in premiums. So I need 2 more cycles on covered calls, and I'll be $100,000 in premiums on the Poor Man Covered Call campaign. And then by that time, that'll probably put me at the next earnings report, and then I'll see whether or not I want to pull the trigger on another 50 leaps once the IV goes back down after that binary event.
So a cycle for these leaps for about like a month?
Yeah, about a month, and it's yielding about between $10,000 and $18,000, depending on whether or not I'm able to sell them on a solid green day or not. Because I got to put them on, because if I wait for perfect ideal market conditions, I'm going to be
actually. I was going to text you the other day. I don't know if any of you have taken Robinhood up on the balance transfers, but I transferred a good. I had to move some positions out that were OTC. After I did that, I was able to transfer one of my portfolios over to Robinhood, and there's a delay in it. So now E-Trade's not letting me do anything to the portfolio, and Robinhood is still not shown up there yet. And I am sitting on some of these SOFI calls that have been printing fucking money recently. 80, 90% up. And I'm like, I gotta unload these. Like, I'm hearing your voice in my head. You know what I mean? Like, don't get greedy, because then you run into the theta decay, and I'm trying to unload these, and E-Trade's like, nah, you can't. you can't unload. I'm like, I got to get out of these calls. I really just want to take that just take all that profit right now.
Dude, I see SOFI on the parentheses. Y'all want to hear something kind of stupid that I did on a tweet? I put if I get for every like I'll buy.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. What was that?
$15 leap, the lottery leap. If Noto gets paid, we get paid. And bro, and I put it at 400 max or whatever. Dude, I got the 400 quick, dude. So I was just looking at it. This is going to cost me $92,000 tomorrow.
Show the tweet. I saw that. I liked that too. Sorry. That I was like, dude, you're telling me I could spend your money? All right.
Bullshit, bro.
What's the leap?
Show the tweet. He was saying for every like that this thing gets, I'll buy a contract on SoFi. And I was like, and when I saw that, it was a very few likes, and I was like, this dude's gonna regret this. This dude's gonna.
This is this one right here. It's on there, Carlos. If you want to share it.
All right, real quick, I just want to read some of these tweets. Solar potential is 20 to 30% residential adoption, which is still a huge market. So ENPH still has its day, but I think it's 2 years away. AI has introduced the demand for nuclear, clean, and clean energy. Yes, I agree. But that also depends on who wins the election. I do think that the results of the election are going to determine whether or not we actually do go nuclear. Because they're talking about, if you watched the Joe Rogan podcast recently, they were talking about actually building some of these like in the US. I think they were saying Connecticut. Tesla is massively better ENPH in every business way and investment way, especially in overall growth possibilities. Jed Luke agreed. The upcoming demand for this huge AI compute energy will determine the fate of clean energy. Look, I don't think that the clean energy movement like solar is where you want to go to power AI. I just don't think so. I think you need something like a dedicated small nuclear reactor and build all these things around it. To me, that just makes complete sense. You're not trying to put solar panels up on roofs. And there's also a susceptibility thing. Was it you, Shane, that I was talking to about that somewhere in Texas, when they have these tornadoes and stuff, it just decimates these solar farms. And you end up with a tremendous amount of waste. So you're losing the production, but then you have all of this environmental impacts, and then you've got to actually go back and rebuild this stuff. So just for the sheer size and form factor of the solar, I don't think that's the way you want to power AI.
And hail too. Hail's like
yes. That was another one. Yeah.
Just those
panels, man. I had the same idea. I sold ENPH a couple of months ago and been adding to Tesla. Yeah. Look, it's a good time right now. Think about it. We're like in kind of a soft recession, and there's still a lot of money to be made and a lot of things to invest in. Over on the Tesla delivers 1 terabyte of megapacks by 2030. I think you mean not terawatt hour. I think you're saying.
Yeah, he then corrected himself.
Currently, it's under 40 gigabytes. That looks like an autocorrect. Yeah. Gigabytes, gigawatts. Thanks to TJ introduction of TSLA. Got my Tesla Play. Yeah, I've been thinking about adding some of that too. Thinking about adding some of that. There's no never liked choice for ENPH, and in the poll selections are positive. Yeah. Matt Money talking
not an option for Matt.
ENPH to 0. No, but I might get an easy. Yeah, he's liking it. So we know where Matt Money stands. Basically, he's like, where's the option for ENPH to 0? Can I write my own answer in? Okay. I did want to play a little bit. The title of this video is that the election ripping the markets, right? So it's kind of a two-pronged question. First of all, is the upcoming election, now that we're getting towards the end, do you think it's having an effect, and how much of an effect is it having on markets? I know a lot of these companies that have been running lately, these like fan favorites that we've been talking about for a couple of years, does this mark like sort of a passing of the baton, say from the Gen Xers to say that the Gen Y millennials, those guys actually starting to throw their weight around a little bit more in terms of sentiment within the markets, or at least like what is important, what are the important industries to invest in? I want to play a little bit of this. Did you guys see where is it? Play a little bit of this. I'll play it at 1.5 speed. I need to.
What's the election update? What's going on? Are we going to get?
Can you hear it?
Your guy in office? Is it
Yes.
the Vice President Harris? What's the sense of what the polls are telling you? of what the markets are telling us? What's your read on where we're at?
All the data is basically pointing one direction, which is a Trump victory. And by data, I mean the polling, I mean the prediction markets, and then the early voting numbers. So if you look at the polls, there were 2 new polls by mainstream media. One, the Wall Street Journal yesterday said that Trump was up 3 nationally. And I think CNBC had a poll this morning saying that Trump was up 2 nationally. That's very good because
That's the popular vote.
that's a popular vote. So if Trump is winning the popular vote, it's a landslide. Most prognosticators say that because Republicans have a slight electoral college advantage, that Harris would need to win the popular vote by more than 2% to have a chance of winning the electoral college. So if Trump is winning the popular vote, then it's a landslide. The second area is, if you look at the state-by-state polling, Trump has been advancing pretty much in every battleground state for the last couple of weeks. If you use RCP, Trump is now ahead slightly in every battleground state, and the momentum is all towards Trump. And then the final data point is around early voting in states where they have this early voting and put out the numbers. The Republicans are tracking well ahead of where they were in 2020. Now, there's still a question of, does this mean that Republicans are just shifting their votes to voting earlier and then they'll do less well on election day? There's always that chance. But right now, if you're a Republican, it's what you want to see. And if you're a Democrat, it's definitely not what you want to see.
Yeah, and the essay that Nate Silver wrote that was published by the New York Times yesterday said it's a 50-50 toss-up. Either candidate could win, but my gut tells me it's going to be Trump. He's kind of indicated that's where, as the guy who's obviously been a big prognosticator, says the market's headed. Cal, do you think Sachs is right on this?
Sorry, I mentioned prediction markets. Prediction markets have moved very, very sharply in favor of Trump. It's almost 2/3, 1/3 now in favor of Trump. So there's been a huge move among bettors that Trump is going to win.
On Polymarket.
Yeah, Polymarket and then Kalshi as well.
Do you think it's over?
All right, so any initial reactions to that as I pull up the next thing? I'm going to pull this up while we're talking. What do you think of that, TJ? Since you're the only other one here in the U.S.
I don't know, man. I mean, I have my bets on who I think is going to win the election, but I also feel like it's important for us to invest in companies that don't really give a shit who the president is. So like keep that in mind, that's why I've been building a
but policy. You can't completely discredit it because that they are sort of a
no, I know. But what I'm saying is I like companies like Amazon that, whether you're a Republican, liberal, or in between like I am.
Right. You still need your packages.
You're gonna fucking buy shit on Amazon because it's convenient, right? So I'm saying like I like Walmart because whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or in the middle like I am, you're gonna go to Walmart because it just makes sense if it's conveniently located for you, etc. So I don't build the portfolio 4 years at a time and wondering if fucking Kamala or Trump or president. I just don't think about that stuff that much because I feel like it cripples you to a certain degree. And it's almost like you're trying to like time the market and time certain situations where at the end of the day, I'm a fundamentalist, like sometimes also a cash secured put and have no idea what the moving averages are or anything on some of these companies because I'm bullish on the stock 3 to 5, 10 years down the road. And I think that's how you probably want to build a portfolio is, do you believe in this company for 2030, 2035? Because none of these fuckers are going to be president by then. That's a fact.
Well, to this point, this is the betting, right? So this is the betting. This is the Polymarket 65.
So now, I think
when it's this high, I'm not buying this shit. Yeah. And I think
did you guys see who they have winning? I think that I don't know the way that I think that Trump's going to win really, really big in some states. And I think Kamala is going to win really, really big in her state. So I think the electoral or the popular vote is not going to be indicative of the electoral vote. So I think it's going to be a very confusing election is what I think. So I think that they should have.
I don't think Republicans have won I think they haven't. The idea is that they have an advantage in the electoral college. Yeah. But I don't think that a Republican has won the popular vote in a long time.
Yeah.
So that in itself.
But one thing, I live in a state that's I call it a sanctuary state from the standpoint of
all the financial sanctuary state.
No, or a trans state, a state where a lot of people from California have moved over here because they can buy mansions.
Yeah.
For the amount of money that they had, just a fucking regular old home in California. But they've also brought their politics with them. So I think that Texas is probably 1 or 2 election cycles away from maybe flipping Democratic. And that is something that's really going to change the landscape of politics moving forward. Because we have, I think, the 3rd most electoral votes in the country, in this state, I believe. So that
would be huge.
That's something to consider because I think it's New York and California. I think California first, New York, and then us, and maybe Florida.
Texas, right.
I think those are the top 4. I might have the orders a little wrong, but that is something that I'm cognizant of, and I'm like, holy shit, dude! It's been, I think, since the 70s that Texas has been Democratic, but I think we're probably on the verge of that. No. Texas used to be Democratic back in the day. We've been Republican since.
Yeah.
But I think we're flipping to Democratic at some point as more people start moving over from California and bringing not just their
just
money.
be in play. It could just be a purple state, and it can flip back and forth. It could do it could do one thing in the general elections and do different things in congressional. Like, I actually think that would be good. I actually think it would be good if the elections didn't come down to like a bunch of swing states. You know,
this is TJ for president right here, bro. Fuck the two-party system. It's the most divisive thing anybody ever created. I care that you're a human, and then if you're in this country, we're Americans, and we're all going to just do the best that we can with what we have to work with. I don't give a shit about your Democratic bullshit or your Republican bullshit. Like, we're Americans, and let's just keep everybody alive. First and foremost, I'm for world peace. Like, that's my thing.
What a radical idea, you maniac.
Right, we ain't breathing. Nothing else matters, bro. It's just to me, it's like, let's make sure that people keep their hands off of the big nuke bombs, right? And then let's all
that would be good. So before we go back to showing your tweet, I just wanted to follow up on that. So I saw this from Chris the other day, and they actually talked about it a bit on the All In podcast, is that there's a whale from France. This guy put he's like a diplomat or something, and he put a $45 million bet. So he's been the one buying this thing up. And he's just saying he just wants to build a position. He's not trying to actually influence it. But so now you're getting a guy sort of putting his money where his mouth is, and he's clearly part of the reason why the spread seems to be so much larger than what the polls are actually showing. So I just think it lends itself to, again, not being able to actually really predict what's going to happen over the next 8 or 9 days. Although it's like the rhetoric on both sides has been getting ridiculous, and the amount of like robocalls, and I'm kind of can't wait for this to be over. To be honest, just get it over with already.
Are you showing my little silly?
Yeah, Benny, early stream today. I had something to do later on in the afternoon. We were actually trying to do this yesterday. Something came up with my family, so we moved it to today, and the guys were able to accommodate. So yeah, once again, Neil, what time is it by you?
We changed the time, so it's fine. It's now 11:45.
Okay, early. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, I put on here, for every like, I'll buy one $15 lottery leap for June 2026. If Noto gets paid, we get paid, capped at 400, and I'm at 429. So I did the math on it earlier. This shit's gonna cost like 93 grand, yo.
Oh my god! So what do you? Well, what is the? Let me see the actual option that you're buying.
It's the $15 leaps for June of 2026 on SOFI.
What are they costing now?
$233 a contract.
Oh, so they're like $2 a share.
Yeah, so the break even is going to be like 1733, and essentially my bet is that Noto's going to hit his performance stock units, right? So SOFI's got to get to at least $25 by this time. That's essentially the bet.
By 2020, yeah. Listen, how good are those CEO compensation plans tied specifically to stock price or market cap? How good is that? I mean, that was something you could see coming with Tesla years ago from 2018, and they I'd like to see them do that again. To say it's got to be $3 or $5 trillion, then you can kind of get a directory. But you know what he's working for.
Have you guys seen the 1,000 leaps that I bought back in the day on SoFi? Those things are crushing it, dude. I made these bets a while ago, right? So I have these right here, Carlos. These are 1,000 leaps that I bought on March at $10.
When did you buy those?
March 26.
And the price was $348. I want to go back and see what the prices that I got.
So I bought them for $1.66, and they're currently going for $348. So up 110% on those.
Let me see if I can check. So I did like a bracketing thing. I don't know if you do this as a strategy or if it actually has a name, but I did it as a bracketing thing. Let's say with the price, I forget what the price was at the time, but I would basically buy some call options that are like in the money, and then just start bracketing up certain tiers that say go up $2 or $3.
Ladder strategy. The reason I bought these leaps, guys, is to protect myself so that I could sell aggressive covered calls along the way. Because if the covered calls got a hand, then you would take my shares, and I'll write up the leaps and call it a day.
Right.
So I'm hoping that this will be the the first time that in my career that I've made $1 million on an option. So that I could just have like that feather in the cap, like my Jesse Down moment.
On one of yeah. He's also been crushing.
Yeah,
His gains are.
does. I feel like
His
he does
gains are
for a living.
legit.
This is just a
corn.
ritual for me. It's not the playbook. But when I have a real big position and I like to sell covered calls and sometimes I get caught, I was like, well, let me add some protection by buying the long calls. That way I don't run into a situation where I'm sharing against the stock, because that seems very counterintuitive as well.
Have you ever talked to Jesse? Have you ever had him on a show?
No, I don't know him. I don't know him like that.
Dude, I would love to. How many people in the
seen
chat
like 4 or
would love
5
to hear these two guys on the same show?
He seems really smart, dude. He's probably knows.
He's a really smart guy. And he did it right. He's like a good mix of like the old school, new school, right? He's definitely got like a new school mentality, but he went back and did research. He actually studied this shit for several years to get good at it, you know. And he had a bunch of failures along the way, which actually, you know, which you can respect the guy for continuing to pick himself up and go back. Huh?
I've had some too. Lost money on freaking IDEX and PaySafe and some stupid companies.
Yeah, so like 10, 12, 15. I was getting them around $1.90. Yeah, I'm up 107% on these calls, and I can't sell them right now. So look, maybe that'll be good for me.
I think
107%. I want to take it, but I can't. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I won't look at selling until these lottery, the $10, I'm not going to exercise those. I have 200 of them at 5 and 7. I will exercise those about a month before expiration.
Yeah.
But the $10 ones, it's strictly a flip. Like I want to make $1 million on a flip. I'll be super happy with $500,000. But just to have just to have for
the collar pop flex.
Well, I mean, I feel like I earned it, dude, because I was doing it when the market sentiment was really shitty and the IV was pretty low. That's when you want to be buying these leaps. You don't want to be doing like right now. Me buying the 400 leaps is not ideal. It's ideal after earnings because the IV is going to go down. So then I would pay a little bit more. So I may buy like 100 tomorrow just to see. But then I'm hoping after the IV goes down, I'll pick up the other 300 contracts just to really, really cap off the position.
And for the other two guys, Neil and Shane, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing positioning yourself for towards the end of the year now? A lot of companies are doing well. A lot of companies are flirting with all-time highs. A lot of companies are hitting 52-week highs. Does this make you nervous, or do you feel like the party's just going to continue?
No, it's earnings season, so I guess volatility is expected. I've got cash, so whatever happens, if a stock drops on an okay report, it's not the end of the world. If it drops enough, just increase the position, and if nothing changes, then nothing changes. It's been a pretty good year. So yeah, no, nothing. I have no options placed, just purely long on every position I have. So no stress.
What about you, Shane? You play a little more than it may seem. I hear you. Yeah, you text me some crazy shit sometimes. These fucking weird ass trades that you want to try.
Admittedly, some of them are just straight up gambles. Like
literally, yeah. Maybe did some ayahuasca in St. Thomas, or what did you do?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's a slam, dude. Jed, I don't think it's a slam dunk. I don't think it's a slam dunk right now, even at that 60.
No, I mean, it's a lot of the polls are saying that it's like I just checked, and I think he's sitting on 65% for. These are Vegas odds, but I like to think that they got their ear to the ground on that sort of thing. But yeah, it might be priced in at this point. Who's to say?
Well, that's my point. Does the party continue, or you know, with these companies breaking all-time highs or hitting at least 52-week highs? Is that an indication that we're topping out, or even if it's just for short term, are we topping out?
I don't know. I mean, I do believe that the AI thing is still quite young and early. There could be a pullback just because everything's gone on such a tear because of all the hype. But it's going to make a lot of things more efficient. A lot of things are going to get better. Not everyone's going to capitalize on that. There will be some ducks that don't come back to the surface. But I don't know. I think a lot of the big dogs, the Make 7 and whatnot, they're going to be just fine. They're going to absolutely capitalize on all this new compute power and all this potential. They're going to thin their workforce. Workflows are going to become that much better. I don't see it dwindling, at least not for the next little while. There would have to be like a huge catalyst, like maybe another step in the war or something like that.
I have this was a subject that I wanted to bring up a couple of weeks ago, and I cannot find the video, so I didn't want to go there because I don't have the video to back it up. But there was like an overall AI bear case that I was hearing a debate about, saying like, if you look at all of the models, all the spend that they've had, these companies are essentially arriving to the same place. Like all of the LLMs are basically as good as one another. They're all essentially training on the same data, and so they're all arriving to essentially the same place. And so at least one of the guys on the panel was arguing that a lot of what people expect to be tremendous value add to these companies is actually not going to materialize, because eventually if no one company comes away with a clear competitive advantage because of the spend in AI, and it's sort of like everyone basically gets the same advantages, then it's like having no advantage. And essentially then they're going to be brutalized for the CapEx spend. And so that was like the flip side to this AI boom that we're supposed to have. Yeah, we could have a great AI boom and it could give a lot of value to customers. But if everyone is getting to the same place and the value add is across the board, then it's really, there's no winners to say winner take all or winner take most. Does that make sense? Have you guys heard any about this? This is like, I know we're always talking about how great AI, but just trying to listen to the other side and saying maybe all of the spend actually ends up being just another tool, another tool.
I think it's to position them at the top, so they stay at the top, and no little guy can touch them. Like building out their castle, their realm, even more, fortifying the walls. Because eventually, if you want to participate as a small startup, small company, there's no way, right? You don't have tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to build that infrastructure. So it's already game over.
I think that's why all these Meg 7s have put so much capital forward on this, because it's literally like, who can get there first? And if you can get ahead of the game, you'll control it for sure. That's why they're not like, and they're,
but here's the thing, but if the models are open sourced, right, and you can basically get an API and plug into it and get access to it without the capital spend, like where's the real advantage to it? If eventually it's so open source, it's so ubiquitous, it's so out there, so readily available, and basically every company has it. So, okay, if you're a company like a bank and you're able to switch all of your customer service to, say, AI, right? You've done the infrastructure build and you've got that. There's a certain value add to your company. But if any company can just do a turnkey solution and get that same thing, what is the real value add? It's like basically everyone's going to thin their workforce. This one segment of the population of this job goes away. And what's the real advantage to that? And then the company that spent the money to build up that infrastructure is basically taking the hit for it. And
they take the initial hit, but I think they can afford to do it because, that's, nobody can throw $50 billion at that. But it's like the Walmart approach. You put a Walmart into a small town and you drive all the mom and pops out of business because they can't compete with those kind of prices. Yeah. And then once they're all out, then you can jack up your prices and charge whatever you want because you don't have that competition anymore. So that's pretty much what's going to happen. Like for Llama 3, for example, with Zuckerberg, like he's putting that out there for free. Nobody else can compete with that. Like you have to turn some revenue. Well, some people can, but that's what he's essentially trying to do. All these up and coming small cap companies trying to do that. You can't compete with $50 billion spend. Like they don't have that. So I think that's their approach, is they'll just drive them out, and then at that point you have free reign to do whatever you want.
Oh, so you're saying that further down the line they'll weaponize the monopolization of it, basically doing the drug dealer aspect. You give it to them for free, get them used to it, get them hooked, then make it so that they can't live without it, and then suddenly your input costs go up and you need to jack up the prices.
Exactly.
You can also build on top of that and monetize those things. I mean, Meta has huge distribution, so they can launch whatever product they want, right? And those products can be monetized. I think the base Llama 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it's always going to stay open source, in my opinion. And it's helping them, right? Why not?
Getting back to what you said earlier, Carlos, I know you're a little displeased with Apple performance this year, but I think that what they're kind of doing is
all-time high. Didn't they hit an all-time high?
No, not the ticker's performance. I mean their company's output.
Oh, yeah, company. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the approach that they are taking is not totally unfamiliar to them, where they let the big dogs run. They're going to see where Zuckerberg and Amazon and all these guys go with it. And then they're going to try and perfect these models once they're a little bit more developed, because that way they can kind of avoid doing that upfront spend. And I mentioned to you before, they've kind of done that with like the iPod, or I guess the MP3 player before the iPod, and then they kind of perfected that device after, or the smartphone. They weren't the first guys with the smartphone, but they definitely perfected it. So they might be just kind of sitting back for the moment with their arms crossed, kind of seeing where this goes, and then see if they can like find a little niche direction and then just pick that and run with it.
I would have believed you, and I probably would have agreed with you up until the day before the Vision Pro was announced. You know, you hear news reports of them kind of scaling back production on it. Then the Meta releases the glasses version, so it's not even a headset anymore. Now they've got these glasses, and it seems, at least on the outside, that like Meta on the technology side would have leapfrogged them and said, "Oh, you're still on headsets? We're going to move past that and get to these sunglasses." Now, whether or not that's actually a viable product, that they can get it down to a price point where they're not bleeding cash, and also that there's a market for it, that people actually want it. That to me was an unforgivable blunder. I think as an Apple investor for Apple, that to me, I think negates what you're saying, that they waited a long time to perfect the technology. No one is doubting that the Vision Pro has probably the best technology in the space, but if they're not selling the unit because there's no use case for this thing, and whatever killer apps or things that we're seeing now that seem really cool. Remember that thing you sent me, that Vision Pro thing that you sent of like what the world? I was like, what the fuck was that day one? Like, where was that day one? You know, if you want to bring up that link, Like, that's what I wanted to see day one. And here we are, over a year later. They're talking about scaling back. It's not doing well. They barely talk about it anymore. And the buzz for it is gone. I think Timmy Boy needs to go. I think what you're seeing, what you are interpreting as a strategy on Apple's part, I'm interpreting as Apple being defensive. They have gone into protect the moat mode, which means they're not innovating and they're not pushing the envelope to try to disrupt themselves. That's my take on it. And I'm, as a guy that I made a lot of money on Apple moving, and they were one of the reasons why I wanted to invest in the stock market. I'm incredibly disappointed in the trajectory of the company. I don't care how many iPhones they sell. I'm kind of over it. It's like the iPhone being the thing, you know? So that's my 2-minute rant on Apple and why I think Timmy Boy should get the axe. Get him out of here.
With Sundar.
Yeah, he's another one. I'm just not happy with certain things with Google as well. What do we say? Oh, these are those people talking.
So you have Palantir and Hood up there. What did you want to talk about Palantir and Hood real quick?
Well, those is because, dude, Palantir's at $45. Well, you know, back in the day, Amit and I think we all had like a friendly bet of like what's gonna 5x first. Is it Palantir stock or is it going to be Tesla? Is it Palantir stock or is it going to be ENPH? Palantir did it, dude. I mean, Palantir went from what, $10 to $45, bro.
I went from like 70.
Bro. Look at this shit. Like
$100 billion company.
Dude. Where is this? Where am I? Oh, damn it. I had my charts going. Hold on. Where are my charts? Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we are. It's this one. Palantir. Yeah, it was this one. Taking a look at, this is SOFI. Hold on, where's Palantir? I think I have Palantir in here. Look at this, bro. It's almost clear skies. It's almost like you're almost at a point, I think, where anyone that's ever invested in Palantir has not lost money. That's pretty freaking insane. That's pretty freaking insane. They're over 100 billion. I think, aren't they the most expensive stock in the S&P right now? I saw a report on that last week. I think, like, in terms of multiple. based on earnings and multiple and market cap. They're like the most expensive stock. That's a pretty freaking insane. You look at Hood.
Yeah.
Hood is now like essentially
That's
retraced
SOFI.
back to its IPO. Oh, so this is, it keeps going back to. Yeah, I was trying to open up some of these. Yeah, so Hood is almost retraced back to its IPO. SoFi has essentially retraced back to its IPO. Palantir has blown past its like previous like little wick and seems like it's somewhat sustainable. The price targets are being readjusted on the upside, and that's why I was saying like these are not stocks that were part of like the big conversation, say even just a few short years ago, and now it's sort of coming back around, and all of them for different reasons. And it seems to me like maybe there is a shift, at least on the retail side, in terms of the stocks that the retail investors think are important, are more of what the upcoming generation, the millennials and Gen Y, versus what the Gen Xers and say the baby boomers are saying are the important stocks. So it's not so much, yes, the Mag 7 is super important and they still move things, but you've got these other companies that are coming up. Like, are we looking at like the next wave of generational companies like a SoFi, Hood, Palantir? Are these going to be stocks that are going to be seen as like the big heavyweights, say in 10 years from now, the way we see some of these the Mag 7 stocks? Is there an indication that that's happening now, or is it just the time we're living in?
I mean, it depends on the company, right? Less on the retail investors buying the stock, because if they don't execute, then there's no reason for the stock to go up. It just happens to be that Palantir now has a lot of momentum, has a huge retail base, so they're doing quite good. Although I would say that if growth is not close to 30% in the upcoming earnings report, look down below, because you cannot be valued at $100 billion and not grow 30% now. Again,
so
it's not their fault. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're closing in 30%, especially with guidance, but we'll see. And SoFi, I mean, I think SoFi still has some ways to go, because we've just gone above $10, which has always been a struggle. Earnings report on Tuesday might be another triple beat, and with the high short interest, I mean, maybe it's time for a little squeeze.
Well, this one in particular, you can see it's essentially retraced itself, right? It looks like a mirror image of itself. This is this is SoFi stock. So now it's sort of like an inflection point for the stock. It's basically back to, if you bought it day one, you're basically even. After all the shit talking, you're basically even again. And that's a good chart, especially for what TJ's doing, because that just means, right, it's just been sitting at that level. You can sort of just keep riding the ups and downs on that level for your wheel strategy.
Yeah, but fundamentally, SoFi is a much stronger company today than when it
was when it IPO'd.
When it IPO'd via the SPAC. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that asymmetrical bet. And then it's like also when Palantir, the sentiment was in the shitter because, like Carpet said that they were going to do 30% CAGR. And then they came in with like, I don't know, whatever the hell it was, like 14, 17%, whatever it was. It wasn't good. But then the company kept getting better fundamentally. And then all of a sudden the share price, gets ahead of things, because that's what it kind of tends to do.
Those demos did really well for them too.
That's what you're looking for, man. I think the AIP, the boot camps and stuff, Palantir figured it out. And I think that SoFi still needs to figure out how they're going to pump this technological narrative in order to have their Palantir moment or their Tesla 2021 moment. Is SoFi still needs to figure out how to command that hybrid valuation. We'll see. I'm excited. I, obviously place my bets because I think that Noto is going to deliver. I mean, a lot of times.
Honestly, that's a big part of it. The dude knows what that stock price needs to be.
Yeah.
Although I'm not all for companies sort of like juicing their company to hit the stock prices. The type of thing that they would do, I think, would be actually good for customers.
Yeah.
So the last thing, we are a little bit over, but the last thing is, what do you get? A couple days? What is it? 2 days from now? PayPal earnings.
Tuesday's the election.
PayPal earnings.
Oh, PayPal earnings.
PayPal, SoFi, Microsoft, AMD. I mean,
it's a big day.
Yeah.
So does the party, just real quick, up or down, does the party continue, or we're going to get a surprise?
I think we're going to have real big earnings. I see PayPal probably sniffing at 90 to 100 by the end of the year. I think Hood is probably where it's going to be, dude. Probably.
I would love that.
I can see Hood at 30 by the end of the year. I think SoFi will be between 12 and 14 by the end of the year, unless they announce something real big with Galileo. If they were to announce something real big with Galileo, forget everything I said. This shit's going to go to like $20.
Mm-hmm.
Because the market's just waiting, dude. Like, give me anything.
Give me something. Give me
anything that says that the money y'all paid for Galileo and Technisys was worth it, and we will reward you, because they've already shown that they'll reward companies in this space.
Yeah.
But SoFi kind of backed themselves up into a corner by pushing this AWS or fintech narrative and not delivering as of yet. But they're delivering as a very quote unquote profitable neobank, and that's great. But nobody invested in SoFi for that shit.
I mean, funny enough, I don't know if you've seen this, but October 16, SoFi Technologies to adopt Galileo Cyberbank Core for new commercial payment services sponsored banking program. So, I mean, at least SoFi is becoming its own client somehow.
What it is,
cyberbank.
It's so hard to get people to want to make that switch, because maybe it's too lengthy of a process for their infrastructure to switch over. So I think you got to get one big player to say, hey, dude, it's worth it, because this is where the world is going. And again, I don't know anything about the intricacies with that stuff. I leave that to the data-driven investing nerds of the world to try to figure all that shit out. I try to figure out how to make money with the stock. But I do think that they got to deliver on that metric, whatever that is. You know, the Derek Whites of the world. That, you know, he's the CEO, I think, of Galileo, the bald dude with a lot of energy.
Derek White, yeah.
Yeah, I think that we got to let him do his thing, dude, and hopefully they'll be able to pump a narrative and make numbers that make sense to us as investors. And I think the market's going to reward them. They got to hit certain metrics because it's convertible note. So there's other technical things at play. There's going to be over 100 million shares that get taken off the books at some point. So I think that the shorts are kind of in trouble. They might be in trouble here.
Well, didn't they lose like $3 billion and then they doubled down on it? It's like,
yeah.
I kind of like those moments. That gives you something to root for. You just want to see us get crushed.
It's fun, but it's also not for everybody. There's a RLG222 that says, I don't like SoFi, never touch it, too many better opportunities. I think that's...
You can make that argument with so many. But look, to that point, do you want to... I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys that love SoFi and follow it, but to me, is it the most exciting stock to be following? Do you want to be having to keep up on SoFi news every single day? Personally, no. I think... you know, a company like Tesla, just for me, is far more exciting to follow. Like I follow that like a sports team, you know, while some people follow, you know, the Raiders or the Dodgers. I'm like, well, I'm going to follow this company because to me, it's more exciting and I can make money on it. And it actually affects everybody, but I'm not particularly excited about SoFi, but there's a bit of that underdog thing. And I know that so many of my friends and other people in the community are into it. I want to see them do well.
But you got to also remember that SoFi is trying to disrupt something that is very, very difficult, and that's legacy banking, because those guys control the narrative. You know, they have all the analysts, they have everything, and then for SoFi to go in there and potentially take that kind of market share and maybe position themselves to be a top 10 bank in the next 5 to 10 years, just on that alone. Like, forget about the whole AWS of fintech. I'm talking about if they could like legit come in here out of nowhere and get people to deposit money with them because they don't have all these brick and mortar expenses. They're able to give you a huge APY on your money, whereas the traditional legacy banks are giving you like 0.25%,
right,
at best a year. I mean, they've already done
nothing.
Pretty damn special if you think about it, and they're getting in bed with the NFLs, the NBAs, the golfs of the world. I mean, I just think that it's how banking is going to be done in the future, dude. And you know, people will like talk a lot of shit about Robinhood, but Robinhood is making a lot of noise now, dude, and they're getting a lot of big money that is trading on their platform, and now they're giving you a lot of metrics via Robinhood Legend that you didn't get before. So I think that my big bet on SoFi from the very beginning was I have a 24-year-old son at the time. He was 21. He's the one that brought me SoFi. He brought me the.
He was already a customer.
Yeah, my son Jeremiah told me, "Hey, Pop, this is the way banking is going to be done in the future because my generation doesn't like people. They want to be able to do everything on their phone. And these old dinosaur banks will not exist if they don't move it." This is what my son was telling me. It was 2021 at the time. And he was like, "Pop, I got your next big investment." And I started listening to what he's saying because my son's been doing this shit since he was like 12, 13 years old, doesn't want any social interaction. I had this idea that the human population is going to be extinct one day because nobody's having sex anymore. These kids, they're just talking on these apps. It's crazy. And that's what they want to do with banking, dude. They don't want to be there. When I was growing up, bro, I had my paycheck. I was in hand, standing at the bank on a Friday, cashing your check. That shit.
Well, the check cashing place, yeah, like in the ghetto.
Bro, it's ancient history, Carlos. Like, dude, shit's moving. And if you don't have the infrastructure, you're not going to be able to move forward. And SoFi has that infrastructure, so they're going to be able to get paid when these old dinosaur banks have to convert to their infrastructure. And that was what Jeremiah made me understand in like a 10-minute pitch from a 21-year-old kid. I bought into the narrative hook, line, and sinker. I started digging in, and I'm like, dude, the world is totally changing, and they want to go into everything needs to be done on a freaking app. Is SoFi going to be that app? I don't know. I think it might be.
And you were buying in 2021. It was going between 14 and 24 bucks.
Yeah, but it was IPOE when I was in. When I first got in, it was IPOE. Well, that was the rumor, right? Because there was what's the guy that everybody hates?
Shamat.
Shamat, yeah, he was pushing out all these SPACs, right? Like Space, he did a handful of them, and they all went into shit. Clover, because I think Wall Street hates that dude. He talked a lot of shit. I hope all these hedge fund managers lose.
I think that was your typical, VC dump on the market.
Yeah.
Perfect time.
We'll see, man. We'll see how it goes. But I figured out how to manufacture the win on SoFi already. If it doesn't do anything else, if they could take my position, I made about $1.5 million on it. I'm happy with it. But I got in it to make 10 million. So that's where I'm trying to do. And I will get there if Noto gets paid, I would get paid.
That's essentially what I'm betting on. I'm betting on the guy wanting to get paid more than I want to make my little bit of money.
Yeah.
If SoFi is at $35 Wednesday, do you sell?
Yeah, fuck yeah. At $35 Wednesday? What? Yeah. Yes, I'm out.
I would not sell my shares, but I would definitely close out those $10 leaves because I'd have to be a fucking.
I would be out. I wouldn't trust that. $35 by Wednesday? Yeah, I'd be out.
I'd close out those leaves because what is that? Is that about a $2 or $3 million gain? I don't even know what the math is on that shit.
Yeah, it'd be a ridiculous gain.
Yeah. I'd have to. I mean, first of all, it didn't matter what I would want to do. The wife would push the button. She'd be like, "Fuck you up and buy a lot of Gucci."
I'd buy the massage chair behind you.
Yeah, a lot of people look at that massage chair. What's going on with that?
It's called Relax. They call it an Alice. Hey, Alice, you talk to it, and the shit does the thing for you. My wife turned me on to it. She's like, "Look, babe, it's so affirm, and you can do it. It's $130 a month, no interest." And I was like,
why is it in front of a webcam? Is the question? What else is going on here? Like, why do you have it in front of a web? Why isn't that even viewable, bro?
It's the only place I have for it. It's right next to the whiteboard. So I do my little thing. I got a little
shady going on there, man.
For the other live
a massage chair would be.
Buy these shares for OnlyFans.
All right, guys, I got a jet. Didn't want to get into some other stuff, but it's amazing how fast the time goes. And once again, we went over the hour, but good. This was good. Master Hobbit.
It's important for you guys to know, real quick. It's important for y'all to know that the Lakers are 3-0. That's the only thing that matters. I'm a Yankees fan and a Dodgers fan. Those are my two favorite teams.
And how they doing? Oh my God,
battling it out. That's beautiful.
They are battling it out.
Beautiful.
Has Bronny James scored a point at this point, or is he still?
I only saw him play the first 3 minutes, and I haven't seen anything since. So I don't know. But Anthony Davis is the MVP.
$35.
3 games in, Anthony Davis is the MVP of the league right now. So it's exciting.
All right, guys. Good. Another good episode. Happy Halloween. Hope you guys have a good one. And we'll see you next week. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow everybody on the stream. Thanks so much for supporting, and we will see you next week.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
All right, man. Okay, cool.